Welcome to Trulyfit, the online fitness marketplace connecting pros and clients through unique fitness business software.
Justin, thanks for joining the Trulyfit Podcast. We spoke a little bit on the front end, but why don't you give the listeners and the audience a background and a bio on who you are and what you do in the health and fitness industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it, Steve. Thanks for having me on the podcast again. I know it took a little bit of work to get here, but here we are finally, right? So a little bit about me, man. So I just turned 30 years old. I've been in the health and fitness space now since I was 18 years old. I have a whole story and past before that there, but fitness changed my life. The fitness industry changed my life for sure. And I owe so much to it. But from 18 years old all the way into this point, this has been like my number one thing in life, from being a personal trainer to being a CrossFit coach and competing in CrossFit, to going to school for nutrition, get my degree in nutrition, certifications. And then now over the last 4 years, kind of owning my own business there and doing online nutrition and lifestyle coaching there. And recently we've really added kind of a training component into that as well. So these days now I literally just coach people one-on-one. I work with like 35 to 50 people one-on-one. And I kind of tailor it as like one-on-one individualized, like VIP coaching. I mean, it's essentially one of those things where it's like, they have unlimited access to me all the time. I'm without us like actually meeting in person, me like living with them and like, cooking their meals for them and doing all that. I mean, it's like as one-on-one as you can possibly get. And that's what I've really kind of learned and enjoyed to do. And it's crazy to think now, because when I first started doing it like 5 years ago, I was like charging like $100 a month for online coaching. And then now I charge $500 a month for coaching. And I love the clients back then. I love the clients now. But what I've learned is like, the more you pay, the more you pay attention. Right. And my clients these days get way better results. Right. They turn these habits into lifelong, habits that they take with them. And they make this an actual like sustainable lifestyle for themselves. Right. And that's what's like pretty much 99% of the people that come to me, they've tried every diet of this under the sun. It's been the start and stop cycle their whole life. They've lost the weight only to gain it back plus more. And they just keep doing that. And they're looking for a long-term solution. They're looking for a way for them to just be able to live a healthy lifestyle without being a freaking, personal trainer or nutritionist or some crazy fitness enthusiast. It's like, how can I create that balance in my life and make it something that's it's a core value for myself and my family, to be able to prioritize their health, which I think all of us, probably should have that as a pillar of importance in our life. Right. So, man, that was a long-winded, I guess, answer to your question there, but I guess the short answer would be, I'm on a mission to just change people's lives, man. I've worked with literally over 1,000 people one-on-one. And, for some people it's weight loss. For some people it's, just wanting to feel better or build muscle or build healthier habits. I mean, honestly, it's really across the spectrum in terms of different types of people I work with. And I kind of like it that way. I think if I just worked with like one type of client and I like niche down, I'd probably get a little bored. So, yeah, man, I'm a nutritionist. I'm a personal trainer, and I've been working one-on-one with clients now for the past about 12 years of my life. So almost half my lifetime now.
You mentioned a lot of people failed in the past at some sort of dieting routine before they came to you. Do you feel like they're becoming successful with you because of their dedication to your program, whether that is the seriousness in which you take it, the finances they have to put into it, or do you feel like it's because you take sort of a kind of a three-pronged approach, or maybe more, between also not just worrying about the nutrition, but also worrying about their lifting and exercise style, and also worrying about their lifestyle habits? Do you think it's more that, or more their dedication, or just a combination of the two?
It's definitely a combination, of multiple things there. I mean, I definitely think from an accountability standpoint, every single week we have a call just like this, one-on-one Zoom video coaching call, right? They have unlimited access to me via text message. We're using different tools. Like we have a custom habit tracker for them. They're using an app like MyFitnessPal to track their food. They're doing a food picture log where they're taking a picture of everything they eat and drink and texting it to me on the spot. And so there's a lot of accountability through these tools that we're using and through these coaching calls and in the investment that they just made in themselves, right? Like a lot of these people, because from the very beginning, they know that it's not a 1 month or a 3 month thing here. You know, we're talking 6 months, 9 months, 12 months plus. And so a lot of them will go ahead and they'll pay in full for 6 months or more of coaching. And so they are committed from the very beginning from a financial standpoint. But mentally, you know, some people, they make that investment and they're ready to go. And other people, honestly, they probably should have paid $1,000 a month or something even more drastic, because that amount just wasn't enough for them to take it serious enough or to make them pay attention enough. And so you really, it's a combination of so many different things. But I think when you come to a coach, you really have to be ready to change, right? It's got to be something that you've struggled with for a while. You've been thinking about it for a while. And you're really ready to go all in on yourself. You know, I think back to starting my business almost 4 years ago. It was the same mentality. It was do or die, backs up against the wall. Like you can't fail, right? And I think some people, like, they hire a nutrition coach and, you know, they just, I don't know, like there's a lot of people that I actually just posted something today. I was like, the worst thing you can possibly do is complain about the results you didn't get for the work you didn't do, right? And that's true for anything in life, right? And I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect by any means, but I just truly think, like, you know, it's an investment of both time and money and energy. And I think that you really need to make sure that you're ready to change. And I think for a lot of people I work with, I was just talking to a client earlier this morning. He just signed up for another 6 months, and we were talking. He's like, man, I feel like really this first 6 months, what got accomplished here is me being able to shift my mindset and actually become ready to change, right? And as we're shifting into kind of this phase 2, I guess, if you will, like now those changes are really carrying out. But he'll admit, he's like, you know, I just wasn't like, and I gave him I was like, dude, you got to give yourself some grace. I'm like, when you first found me on Google or whatever here, right? And you got on a discovery call with me, like you probably didn't plan on signing up, you know, and paying $2,500 for 6 months of coaching right there. But you did, based off our conversation that we had. And so it took some time there for you to really, you know, take things serious and to really, you know, dive in and believe in the process and trust the process. Because, I mean, look, we're combating 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of a lifetime of habits, of beliefs that have been built up. And, you know, honestly, even 6 months, that's a very short time period in comparison to a lifetime there for most people. So
it's not talked about enough, I feel like, in the industry about clients who are not successful in their programs, right? So let's say a personal trainer might have 40 clients. You know, how many of those people are actually reaching their goals? The personal trainer may know, but the outside world doesn't know how successful the trainer is with their clients. And I think for us as people who are only personal trainers, I'm speaking about people who don't handle the nutrition side, like you may, there's a lot of failures because we can't control what they're doing outside of that, especially. So I've had times in my life, Justin, where I had like 40 clients, and I'm talking about people that I have to spend like, you know, I mean, that's a lot of hours in a week. So I'm working 60 hours a week, one-on-one in a personal training session. So with all of that time being given to people, it's really hard to also check in on all their other goals and make sure they're completing all these other habits. And you and I spoke again on the front end about the future of fitness. And I do think there is going to be something more like what you're doing, where it's either that you have a ring of people, right? So you might have a nutritionist and a personal trainer and some sort of like more of a psychological coach, you know, life coach-esque. I don't like that term, but whatever. And then everybody is playing their role to get person to, you know, from step A to step B, or someone like you who's controlling all of those things, rather than a lot of people, maybe because they don't understand the general population, but you know, they'll come to me and be like, well, you know, like we've worked out for 3 months and I'm not like reaching my goal. This isn't recently. I don't even really train anymore. I'm too busy with other things. But, and I'd say, well, you know, Bob, I'm just making up a name here. You had 6 whiskeys last night. You told me you were out till 3 a.m. and, you know, you ate KFC for lunch. Like 30 minutes of cardio in the gym with me is not going to negate all of these other issues. And I think that's a problem for not only the general population because they don't get to their goals, but it's a problem for us as personal trainers because if we can't get them to their goals, we don't have another solution or step, because unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we're not really supposed to go into the nutrition side.
Yeah, no, I mean, you make a great point. I mean, honestly, I think that's definitely the direction in which, we've seen it a little bit here with COVID. I mean, luckily I had made that jump 3 years before COVID hit, but you saw a lot of people kind of, bringing this online model in some sense with COVID. But yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, I mean, look, I was a personal trainer for 8 years, right? I mean, I started at 24-hour fitness. I was grinding it out there, training 10, 15 sessions a day, scarfing down protein bars and my supposed 10-minute break in between sessions, right? So I get that personal training grind. But yeah, man, at the end of the day, it's like, look, regardless of what happens in a week when I'm doing 2 personal training sessions a week with this person, or maybe 3, or maybe this person's crazy and they're doing 5 sessions with me even, right? But if you're not looking into those other 23 hours of the day, right, you're not going to get this client the best results, period. Right. And if let's say the results, right, whatever that goal is, I mean, obviously it's dependent upon the client there, but let's just assume it's weight loss, like 99% of people out there, I feel like, right? Well, then if you're not tracking their sleep, you're not tracking their nutrition, you're not tracking their hydration, their stress management, like you're not tracking these things and helping them to improve these things and helping them to build awareness, right, with what's actually going on, then yeah, I mean, you're really not going to get all that much out of those training sessions. And again, there could be somebody that comes to me and like they're just worried about like sports performance or something, or they're trying to, I don't know, like improve their mobility or recovering from an injury or something. Like, I don't know, it just depends on the goal, right? And maybe some goals matter more or affected differently, but I think I could argue for any of those goals, your sleep, your nutrition, all of these things are going to be important regardless of your goal that you have there for the gym, right? So, yeah.
And I think someone like you, and I'm sure, is only going to take on the right kind of client, and that's important for like all people in our industry in health and fitness. It's if I don't have the time or expertise in a particular area, I shouldn't knowingly take on this responsibility because I'm not providing the proper value for this client, regardless of the finances, right? So, and I think some people don't do that. If as a personal trainer, they might have like 15 different kinds of clients, but they're only helping out a few of them because some of them, like we just talked about, might want serious weight loss, right? If you're and maybe they sign up with you for 2 30-minute sessions a week. It's like, well, you're not going to get them serious weight loss with that, right? Unless you're controlling all of the other workouts they're doing during the week, unless you're looking over their diet plan, looking over their sleep and their mental health and all these other things. So I think, moving forward, just continuing to talk about the future of fitness, when people have these niches, they need to like stick with them and not maybe go outside the box so much and just take the dollar from their client because they feel like they're doing themselves an injustice. Because long term, I feel like you're gonna grow. I talk about this a lot. You grow commiserate with your experience, meaning like if 12 years ago you were to take on all the clients you had now, you would have failed because you didn't know all that stuff you knew in between in those 12 years, right? So you learned so much from 18 to 30 that now you have all that knowledge and you can take on 35 clients. And I think people are just too excited. Like, I need clients. Where can I get clients? How can I get clients? It's like, well, if you just focus on doing a good job with the first few clients, word will spread and you'll grow like at the right pace. Can you talk maybe a little bit about like your growth and how you when you started your business, like how long it took you to get 30 or 35 clients?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, look, I think that should be echoed from mountaintops, which is, especially in the online space, right? And especially with all the business gurus and everything that are out there. I mean, look, you can't just sit there and throw out some high ticket level pricing, coaching or whatever, just because, right? I mean, you got to definitely earn your stripes and put in the time and all of that. I mean, if not, I mean, you're really just kind of a scam artist. I mean, you're doing a disservice to people there. So yeah, when I talk about, let's talk about this. First off, I was in the field for 8 years before I even started my own business, right? I was in 8 years working with clients in person and both one-on-one and in a group setting while I was going to school, get my degree in nutrition and spending God knows how much money on all the certifications and seminars and all that stuff. I was the guy that went to like every Perform Better seminar back in the day. So anyways, you got to put in the work. I mean, like after that 8 years, when I finally, I finally made the jump and started my own business. Even with that, like we started at charging $100 a month. And at that time it was like, just, it was just nutrition coaching, right? There was no like training aspect or anything to it. It hadn't evolved as much as where it is right now. And then I hired on a coach. It was a registered dietitian. At that point, we made our prices like $350 for weekly coaching, $250 for biweekly, and $150 for monthly. And then that kind of evolved. I hired on another registered dietitian, another nutrition coach. And then after about a year, that's when I had my first child. I have 2 little boys now. And man, I'll be honest, it was one of the most stressful times of my life, because I felt like, and I love these people that were on my team back then to death, but I felt like I was a new dad at that point, right? And then I was also a new business owner, and I had a team of like 7 people at that point, and I was just stressed beyond belief. And so I had to kind of like take a step back in order to take a step forward, I guess, which was like, I had to essentially transition my team out, focus on my solo practice there. And I had a realization from a buddy of mine in the space that, why are you still charging like such little amounts for your coaching? And so I just continued to climb that number up. And so basically we went from like $100 a month, then it was like $200 a month for phone consultations, or like $125 for email, right? And then that turned into the $350, $250, $150, and then that turned into $400, $300, $200. And then that evolved into $500, $300, or $500, $400, $300, which is where it's at now. And now with that, like the pitch in the beginning, right, is you can either do monthly coaching at $500 a month, or you can pay for 6 months up front, and you do that for $2,500, so you get 1 month for free. So I've always structured it that way, like pretty much from the time that we went to that 350 model. And then after people finish that first 6 months, right, then they can graduate into meeting every 2 weeks, meeting once a month, and then graduating from the program, graduating from iCoach University. So that's how we've kind of, I guess, structured it there in terms of like, pricing here over time. That's over, I guess, 5 years. Because the first year, I guess I failed to mention, the first year I built a nutrition coaching company, essentially within another company. It was like at like a big gym. And I had like 96 clients before we left there. That was when we were charging $100 a month. And that's when I like 50% of those people were like at that gym, and 50% of those people had just found me through social media and whatever else. And so that's when I was like, all right, like I can build my own business. I don't need to like, I've been working for other people for long enough. Like you gotta do it. You gotta make the jump. And that's when I hired a business coach, and that helped quite a bit. I had a business coach for my whole first year. I haven't had one for the last 3 years though, which has been kind of interesting, but I definitely think that business coach helped a lot in that first year for sure. I think having a little bit of that test run, if you will, building it under another company before I went and built it myself, I think that helped. And I think that I just have, I'm lucky with where I live too. I mean, one of my the biggest lead generator for me is client referrals, which that's what it always should be for you if you're a coach out there, by the way, guys. That means you're actually servicing your clients well, right? Like you had talked about earlier. But then the second one is just like, if you search for a nutritionist or nutrition coach or anything like that, like in this area, like all the surrounding cities around me, and the one I'm in particular is like a affluent city, which is a blessing to be there, right? But I come up number one, like in all those cities. So
was it the business coach or someone else who helped you with like search engine optimization to get your name up there? Or did you do that on your own? How exactly are you coming up?
What's funny is I actually did that on my own. I worked with a marketing company to kind of help me with that, but it's not even necessarily like, it's not like, if you go and you search for a nutritionist and like, I'm sitting there ranking up with all the big dogs in the nutrition industry by any means. It's the local search listings, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's only like, there's maybe like 10, nutritionists or dietitians or nutrition coaching companies that are like in this area. And then based off like, I have, I don't even know now, like 150 plus like 5-star reviews that are on there. So it's like, if like nobody else ranks even close. I think the second girl, she's like a registered dietitian and she has like maybe like half as many reviews or something. So
yeah, but you're definitely, so for the listeners who have a website and they're promoting their Instagram to, who knows, 60 people, half of them are their family, you're wasting your time if you're not like making sure that you are searchable, right? Having, whether you have to pay a marketing agency like you did and have the proper search engine optimization, it doesn't have to be global, right? If you want to give out nutrition advice, you're not going to beat out somebody by typing in nutrition advice tips, right? You're not going to come up first in Google. There's going to be 20 million things coming up before you. But if you live in, Rochester, New York, and you base your site around that sort of locality and you use the right search engine optimization and you connect all your social media appropriately to that to make sure you're just driving it there, then that's what you want to do. Or if you're like extremely niched in one area, right? If you only work with females over the age of 60 going through menopause or something, right? So like you can, that's a way you can maybe rank somewhere. But I think for a lot of people, they're doing so much, but there's no direction. And they just think, I have to keep doing, like, I have to keep posting. I have to keep giving out content. I have to keep doing this, but there's no direction. And that's why it is important, I think, to have some sort of business coach or marketing agency behind you so that they say, hey, listen, like you spent all this time. For you, it was 8 years. For me, it was 10 years sitting in a gym. Like basically that was our, like if we were an artist, that was our canvas we were painting with. We didn't know anything else, right? So if that's all you're digesting, let's not pretend that we're all experts. You have to sub these things out to other experts.
Yeah, absolutely. So funny story with my business coach. So I actually started going to this guy's like certifications and seminars, and I wanted to work for him. I wanted to be a part of his team, right? And he essentially, like, just based off a conversation, he kind of shut that down, but he invited me to like one of like the mentorship like sessions, right? And so I go, even in that one, like we come around to the table to my spot, and he's like, what are your goals? What do you want to do? Blah blah blah. I was like, I want to work for you. That's literally all I said. And again, he kind of like denied it and like turned it down. But then he was like, if you leave and you start your own business, I'll mentor you for free for 3 months. And I was like, done. And I did it. Things took off really, really well. Then I started, paying, like doing like paid mentorship, which at first was like $750 a month, which for me at that time was a lot, because 2 months after I started my business, I found out my wife was pregnant. So I had that aspect of things, but I had just started my business too, right? So, but I did it and did that for the first about a year or so, and then I joined like the next, much higher tiers, where it was like a $50,000 investment for a year of mentorship, and I learned a lesson there, because the $750 a month I was paying, totally worth it, right? Going to $10,000 down and then $3,200 a month after that, not worth it. And so, luckily I was able to, I guess this should have been aside from the beginning, but it wasn't as formal as things should have been in terms of contracts and all of that. So luckily I was able, after I think it was 3 months or 4 months, I was like, man, I'm out. Like, this is insane, right? Like, I'm sitting here paying significantly more for the same exact thing that I was getting before. So anyways, kind of graduated from that, and it was basically a whatever $20,000-$30,000 lesson there for me, right? But lesson well learned, and since then I haven't worked like directly one-on-one with a business coach, but I think for me, I'm constantly listening to podcasts and audiobooks and learning, and just like I think the biggest mistake I had with having a business coach, even though there was a lot of great things that came from it, was that I was just doing whatever he was telling me to do. I was not building my own business. I was building his business all over again, essentially, right? And, luckily I was able to check my ego, and after only having a team of 7, kind of take steps back and then take steps forward. But it could have been a case where I built up a big team of coaches there, and then been like super stressed and unhappy or whatever. So I don't know. I think there's just so many lessons that come out of entrepreneurship. And that's why I kind of, it's the game that's so stressful, but it's also the game it's like worth living, in my opinion. You're doing something, and you're really living life, because there's no guarantee. I mean, everything's on you all the time,
Yeah, certainly stressful. And as entrepreneurs, we always feel like this weird balance where we're stressed because we're doing so much, but we're also not doing close to enough, right? Like the list of things to do is like never ending. We always want to put more time and energy and money into the business, but at the same time, you look around, you're like, where do I find this time? Like, and how exactly do I do it? And how do I balance all that? And it's not for everybody. And that's what I tell a lot of personal trainers, is that it's you don't have to focus on scalability. You don't have to focus on being Justin Murphy. You can just go into the gym and have 5 or 6 clients, 10, 20 clients who you really love working with, and you charge a little bit more, and you live just a simpler life, and you do a good job with them. That's also okay. And I think too many people see this sort of like Instagram, sort of like celebrity-esque training, and think this is what I want to do. When ultimately, if I know a lot of trainers who are the best trainers I know, some of the most fantastic trainers, they work in a small gym in a small town and have a small amount of clientele, but they're happy and they make enough money.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I mean, you're totally right. Like, I mean, social media it's an interesting thing, right? The guy that I owe so much to, that was and still is a mentor to me. He's I don't even know how old he is. I mean, not that age has anything to do with this, right? But he hasn't like evolved into the social media. He didn't like grow up with the social media. And so the sad part about it is like, yeah, I mean, he still has a thriving deal in person and locally here. I mean, he's a legend, but at the end of the day, like, he'll never have the worldwide reach that he possibly could have. And I think that's really what like excites me about social media, right? I mean, there's good things about it, there's negative things about it, whatever, but I think you're absolutely right in that, it's not for everybody. I mean, I've had conversations with trainers here locally who, I sat down with them for an hour just to help in whatever way that I could. And the idea of them doing what I'm doing was like crazy to them, right? And I reminded them, I was like, if you would have asked me however many years ago, I would have thought this was crazy too, just to let you know, right? But like, I mean, I've had conversations with trainers where they're like, they think that they are going to train the same people their whole career. And like, they think it's crazy for that person ever to leave them. And I'm just like, I guess I get kind of where you're coming from, but it's like, look, dude, like, I want people to graduate my program. I want people to not be reliant on me for the rest of their life. Like, I want people to take ownership in this and develop this skill set. And I mean, people should not have to work with a personal trainer or nutritionist or whatever for the rest of their life in order to be successful. That's crazy. But you're right. And the other point too that I forgot to touch on, which was, there are so many people doing so many things, and I get it. I mean, that's what I was doing 4 years ago too, right? I think ultimately over time, whether it's from a business coach and their mentorship, or learning yourself, just through putting in the reps and failing and succeeding, and you're going to figure out kind of what works best for you. I mean, if I think about the things that work best for me, like 100% the fact that I do Zoom video coaching calls and I talk with my clients every single week. And not only do I do that, it's supposed to be a 30-minute call, but I block off an hour just in case. I don't ever want to be, I mean, again, I am charging $500 a month, right? But I don't ever want my clients to I want them to feel like VIP all the time. So especially with people that are local, I don't work with I mean, I have some clients that are actually in other countries, but most of my clients are local. I mean, I'll do whatever I have to do, right? I mean, if I need to sit there and go help you grocery shop, I mean, I very rarely do this, by the way, but it's the offer is there, right? If I need to help you meal prep or go work out with you or whatever it may be, like like, your success is my success. I'm willing to do whatever I have to do to make sure that you're successful. I'm just not going to go 51%. Like, I'll go 50-50. I'm going to meet you halfway. I'm not going to go above that, because it's just not going to serve you in the end. It's a disservice, right? So, all that to be said, man, I think the thing that works best for me is I think the Facebook group that I have with, all the clients that I currently work with and all the clients that I've worked with over the years, I think that we have a really awesome support group and community of education that's in that. But yeah, I mean, it really boils down, it's accountability, it's education, and it's tools, right? That's what people need to build the skill set of what it means to live a healthy lifestyle. And I would argue for 99% of people, it's, if I could break it down into like that mason jar example as to like the big rocks, the things that actually matter most, right? It's always going to be, and again, there are minor, there's the 1%, right? But for so many people, it's like your sleep, your nutrition, your training, your hydration, your stress management. And then from there, I'll dive into like the personal development side of things with clients as well. But if you're coming to me and you're sleeping 5-6 hours a night, that's a problem. Like if you're coming to me and you're not working out at all, or you're working out way too much, that's a problem. Or you're not doing the right type of training for your goals, right? Or nutrition. Like I see people all the time that are like, they eat really, really, really healthy, right? But they've never tracked their food on MyFitnessPal. They have no awareness around their numbers. They have no awareness around how many calories they eat or anything like that, right? Or I have some people that come to me and they are obsessed. They have a terrible relationship with MyFitnessPal. And if they go 1 gram over, they're like beating themselves up, right? So, and then there's the in-between, right? And then with workouts, like it's, or I think I mentioned the workouts already, but the hydration piece, the alcohol intake, the caffeine intake, the stress management, all these different factors. I mean, really, it's just like, for most people that I work with, it's not hey, I want to lose 5-10 pounds for this wedding, right? It's, hey, I just got diagnosed with this. I want to be around for my kids. I'm sick of being obese. It's really like a life-changing transformation. That's the majority of clients that I work with these days, for sure.
And I think, it's important to note, not everybody is going to have the ability to do what you do right now, right? Especially a lot of the personal trainers. You can't fake it. If you don't have this knowledge of the nutrition side, right? If you don't have the years of experience, both anecdotally and scientifically, to help your clients in that realm, you kind of have to stick to your space and do what you do, right? So like you may be able to do what Justin does in a different format where you're helping out with just the personal training side, and then you're delegating some of those other tasks to other specialists and not do exactly what he does. But it is also important, that you take on only what you can take on, or else you're not helping your clients. So for instance, right now I run a fitness software company. So I only have 4 or 5 hours to dedicate a week to clients. I enjoy being what I call like in the lab to make sure that I stay fresh and understand what's going on. So I enjoy those hours where I'm working one-on-one with those clients, but I can't take on 20 clients. I don't have the hours in the day. I have other obligations. And I think that's again, talking about sort of the growth meeting your experience and ability, where people are so obsessed with growth in clients. And I think part of that is, and maybe you can touch on this a little bit. I don't know, because you talked about, basically having a mentor in the beginning. In the fitness industry, they don't have that. So they started like NASM started like a gym turnship, basically. I don't know how successful it is, or people are doing it where you get your certification and then they could find gyms in the area where you kind of intern, but it's not a normal thing. And because people don't do that, I think they don't understand like the scope of the business and all of that stuff. But did when you were working with like your mentor for like business wise, did you know what you were getting into as far as like the business side? Did he give you like a sense of like, at least, I know you said obviously the paying the potentially an extra $20,000 or $30,000 you didn't want to, but did you walk away with the sense of like, okay, at least I know what I'm getting into now?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely dipped my feet into the water, this crazy, online world of entrepreneurship, especially in the fitness industry. I mean, it's the wild, wild west, just like the supplement industry and everything else. Yeah. But, I'd say the number one thing, and I would have paid $20,000, $30,000 for this again, right? Seeing what's happened now over the last 4 years. But the number one thing that I got from that business mentor was this: a permission slip, right? A permission slip to go all in on yourself, right? And to go all in and bet on you, right? Because for 8 years, I mean, I would probably say like I could have made that jump like 3 years earlier. I was just in my own head, right? I didn't have the mindset. I mean, like legitimately could have been ready to go 3 years earlier, right? But that's the thing. I mean, I just like, it's really hard to believe in yourself, right? It's really hard to quit something that's safe, right? I mean, because from the time that the second year of personal training, I was making 6 figures a year, and I did that for all the year. I mean, I was making 6 figures even before I started my business. So I had like this safe, comfortable job or whatever, but it was more just about like, I wasn't in control. Like I had a lot of control, but I was still working for somebody else. And it had always been just like a dream of mine to be an entrepreneur and everything that entailed. But it's just, I mean, I just take it one day at a time, you know what I mean? Like it is a lot, and it's not, I mean, I've worked with other coaches and mentored other coaches and done like kind of business mentor with some other people, and it's not for everybody. I mean, you have to be, you gotta have the mindset, and you gotta have the grind. You have to work your absolute ass. I mean, the first year I started my business, I worked every single day, 7 days a week for a whole entire year, 15 hours a day. And then I had my son and scaled that back significantly. But that first year, I mean, I worked harder than a lot of people are willing to work. And that played a huge role in the success for sure.
Can you walk me through, sometimes I call this the client journey, but this is going to be different because I want you to maybe walk me through it from your side. So Steve Washuta, come upon your program either through, let's say, the Facebook group I sign up for, or whatever. I find you Googling, and I'm interested, and I sign up. How does that process unfold? And can you explain it maybe from like your side? Do I sign up and you get an email? Do you have like a lead magnet on your page? Like, how does the process unfold from start to finish?
Yeah. So as far as one-on-one coaching goes, you can't sign up until you've actually done a discovery call with me. So you can apply for coaching on the website, or you can reach out to me. However you reach out to me, whether it's getting introduced via a text message from a current client that's referring, or social media, whatever. And then from there, you'll fill out the coaching application. From there, we'll schedule a discovery call, which is about an hour long typically. And in that discovery call, we go over everything. I mean, I really just try to learn as much about you as I possibly can and see if we're going to be a good fit to work together. From there, if you sign up, then we go through the initial assessment process, which we can go into that specifically if you want, but then we get into the real coaching, and that's really when the process gets started there. So yeah, as far as one-on-one coaching goes, like I don't have pricing up online. I don't, there's nowhere that you can sign up for coaching. Like you have to actually apply, then you have to do the discovery call there. And then essentially, depending upon where I'm at in the process, I mean, if it's going to be a good fit, then great. I mean, these days, like I don't want to, I mean, nothing against anybody, obviously, but it's just like, I really am super picky because it's like, I'm about to spend the next 6, 9, 12 months with you. I want to make sure it's going to be a good fit. I don't need your money. Like I want to make sure it's a good fit, both for me and for you. Right. So, and I also do, I kind of failed to mention this. I do, quite a few like corporate contracts as well. And so what this looks like is I'll have a client, maybe they're a CEO, we work together for a time period. Then they're like, you know what, I want to bring my top 10 executives in and have you coach them one-on-one as well. So depending upon where I'm at with that, there might be like a corporate load where I have more people that I'm working with at one time. And so bringing in one-on-one clients might be more of a, maybe a slower transition in terms of not being able to start like right then. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I mean, that seems like a good way to run the program for psychological reasons too. Not having people worry necessarily about the money up front, getting to meet you, getting to, again, not invest in a dollar amount right away, invest in a person, invest in their future, invest in a relationship, and then decide if that dollar amount is worth it. And almost always, if they believe in the future and the process, and they can sort of see that, right? This is sort of like you could read all the fitness marketing gurus that talk about presenting the future to the clients and how important it is. And I think, again, trainers who aren't familiar with this, who aren't readers of these marketing books because they don't have the time, because they're sitting in the gym and they don't understand the process, are 2 or 3 steps behind, and they don't understand. But that's why I like to have people on like you who have this process in place for people who want to transition, and they get the gears turning and start thinking, oh, okay, it's not about me just being scalable and saying I can do this for $15 a month and putting up videos. No, sometimes it's quite the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, I truly believe, especially, I mean, where we're at right now, it's October 2021. We'll see where we're at here later on, right? But I truly believe that one-on-one coaching by far is the best model right now. I think that, there's an evolution that coaches can have. Yes, you're going to charge much less in the beginning. You need to get your reps in. You need to learn. And through that time, you need to get more and more education and more confidence and all of those things, right? I mean, we all started somewhere, right? I mean, if I think now to 12 years ago, I sucked back then, but it is what it is, right? So I think if you can commit to being a lifelong learner and you can really love this, right? I mean, you gotta love this stuff. You can't just like do it for the money or for the freedom or whatever else. I mean, you got to actually love it. And if you love it, you'll be a lifelong learner. You'll commit to it. You're going to keep getting better. And as long as you can really focus on the most important element of all of this, which is human connection, right? And building relationships, you will be successful. Clients do not care about how much you know until they know how much you care, right? And I think that that's like one of the best things that you can remember there. I mean, within that first month of me working with clients, like that's my number one goal, right? How can I build a relationship? How can I get to know them? How can I make sure that they know that I'm on their team and I'm not going to just be this freaking boot camp drill sergeant? Like I'm here to help you, right? Like, cause your success is my success ultimately.
Totally. And I always shamelessly plug my book, Fitness Business 101. The subtitle is What the Certifications Don't Teach You. And in the book, there's a big section about how, building relationships with your clients is not taught in any certification, but it's the most important part of personal training, right? That's the personal side of personal training. I've had a lot of clients of mine come to my wedding, right? These are people who are lifelong friends. And even when I move cities, check in on me and I check in on them, even if we're not working together at this point on a regular basis. And it's because you build those relationships. And not everyone has that personality. And if you don't have that personality, I mean, people will give you different advice. My advice is, if you're a science geek and you're like a kinesiology nutrition person and you just don't have maybe the sort of affable personality to connect with people, find another way. Maybe you can't always be taught those skills. In my opinion, some people just don't have that dynamic personality. So maybe you should do something like you're just doing assessments and you're tracking all of their things and you're doing more of that based approach, right? And you have someone else on your team who's like the check-in person, right? And you're kind of working behind the scenes. And that's fine, because I do the opposite, right? So like I have somebody when I haven't done this in a while, but when I was recording like exact workouts. So like even like workouts I would give them, they would have to come back to me with how they completed the workout, how they felt, things they were eating, how they slept, that sort of thing. I paid somebody else to review all that stuff and make sure they were meeting those criteria, because I didn't have the time and I didn't like to do it. And that's not me. I'm not like, I don't care about the science-based approach. I care about the relationship and keeping them on track. So
yeah. I mean, I think there's so much, I mean, the evolution of the industry, and there's so many different things that you can do. I mean, I have a friend that he started off as like a coach trainer at a big gym in Austin, and now he is sitting here launching app after app after app. So like fitness app, right? So there's so many things that you can do in this industry. I mean, you're right. You just gotta figure out kind of what works best for you. I mean, it just so happened that at 18 years old, I started doing personal training and working one-on-one with clients. And here I am 12 years later, and I still truly love doing that. A lot of people do get burnout of the one-on-one, and who knows, maybe I will at some point. I just think that the way that I've been able to scale it, which is different than what was presented to me. I mean, I was going to go own a gym, or I was going to, even with this nutrition thing, I was going to build a big old company with all these coaches. But I'm not trying to go be competitive with, Precision Nutrition or Stronger You or any of these other people. Like I want to charge way higher prices than them, and I want to deliver a way better service than them. And if I can do that, then, ultimately I can make a lot more money for the amount of time that I'm working, which then allows me to have a lot more freedom and flexibility with my family, which truly is my number one priority, even above business, right? And so, you know, I've and again, this has taken work, right? I mean, February will be 4 years since I started my business, and then there's 8 years of not having my own business before that. But I mean, I'm at a place now where it's like, yeah, I work with like 35 to 50 clients one-on-one, which that typically leads to like around like a 30-hour work week. Maybe I'll take it to 40 if I'm doing a bunch of like extra stuff, but that wouldn't be like with clients, right? And you know, I could literally work 3 days a week if I wanted to, or I could cut it off. Like right now I do like Monday through Friday, and I cut it off like around, right? Like this is the last thing I have today, like meeting with somebody. I'll have other things I'll do, right? But like 1, 2 p.m. So I have a really, really good balance working right now. And a lot of it's too, I have a 2-year-old little boy, and I have a little boy that literally was born 9 weeks ago, right? So I have a lot more balance currently right now. But I think that's what the online thing can do, man. I mean, it can really give you, I mean, this is the coaches you see going on trips every month, traveling around the world, working from anywhere. Like there's the potential and what this can become can be amazing, but it's just like anything else in life, right? I always compare it to like get rich quick schemes or something. Like if it sounds too good to be true, it's too good to be true. Like you have to put in work. It takes time, you know, whether you have to sit there and lose 100 pounds, or you want to sit there and go build a nutrition, you know, coaching business, it's going to take time, right? And you're going to have to put in work. You have to be patient. There's going to be ups and downs, all the things. Like nobody has, even I'll throw this out there too. My first year of business, I never in a million years would have expected this. I blew the goal way out of the water. 165,000 first year in business. And then I sat there and I was like, you know, more stressed out than ever before, happy, still wasn't enough. You're pushing for more and more and more and more. And, you know, to take a step back and reassess everything and really like, you know, essentially just take ownership of the narrative going forward rather than being so reliant on a mentor, on a business mentor, on a paid business mentor. I don't know. I'm just a big believer in that mentorships are great. Masterminds are great. All that's great and all. But like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, like you have to be in charge. You cannot be reliant on bouncing from mentorship to mastermind. Because you see that all the time too, right? There's people that it's just nonstop. Even the people that I was in 3-4 years ago, they constantly are just hopping from mastermind and mentorship. I don't know. I think you really have to take ownership of your own business and your own life. And once you do that, that's when the game really changes for you.
Yeah. Eventually you have to fail. And I think that's really what it comes down to, right? So some people, you see this in every industry, a lot in the education industry. So you'll see people who just continue to get degree after degree after degree, so they don't actually have to go into the real world and then fail because they're scared. But eventually you have to dip your toes in the water. You have to go about the process and you have to screw up and then you learn. I mean, it's a little bit ironic because we kind of teach our clients this and we walk our clients through the process, right? It's like, hey, yeah, I understand you're going to be sore the first day you do these lunges, but we have to get you past the soreness, right? This is like the first steps in order for you to become a healthier, better version of you. Yet from the business standpoint, we don't take our own advice.
Oh, 100%. I mean, literally there's so many parallels to what we do working with clients, helping them, you know, and with their goals and what we're trying to do with business. I mean, there's so many comparisons there that could be made. And I mean, that's why at the end of the day, I mean, even with just, which a lot of, you know, people maybe don't have as much of a problem with, but it's like, even with just leading from the front and prioritizing your own health. I mean, I'll be the first to say that first year, because I'm sitting here grinding so much, that was like the worst year. I mean, coming off being the fittest I was, competing as an individual at regionals and CrossFit, to pretty much, I mean, I don't want to say I didn't work out at all, but I pretty much dropped my workouts off significantly. You know, ate worse, drank more alcohol, you know, just everything got worse. And after a year, I was like, all right, I can't do this. Like, this is literally like, if I keep doing this, like, I'm not going to be in this industry at all. Right. So it's like, I I was reminded of like, yes, health is my greatest asset. And I have to make the transition from competing in sports to competing in business, competing in the game of life, essentially, right? And so that's now my mentality of like everything I'm doing with nutrition and fitness and sleep and all of that is so that I can show up as my highest self and be able to perform in this new phase of life that I'm in, right? So
this has been great information. Where can the listeners contact you? I know that you're going to give us your website if they're interested, maybe in your coaching, but for the personal trainers and the people in fitness, if they have maybe a question concerning business, maybe they're looking for a mentor, is there a way they could also contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm probably I'm on all social media platforms, but I'm probably most active on Instagram. So it's just at Coach Justin Murphy. You spell my last name Murphy. And then I have a podcast, iCoach Nutrition Radio, the website's iCoachNutrition.com. And then I'm on, Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and all the things there as well. But Instagram's probably definitely the main one still. Well, we'll see if that changes, but.
Yeah, well, it's a whole nother conversation that we can have, because I've talked about that on the podcast a lot, how people have so much money and time and effort and of their business built into these platforms. We have no idea what these platforms are going to look like in 5 years from now. So that's why it's important that you have a great website, which you do, right? Because that's really the only way to have autonomy and control over your message. Because if Instagram decides to take away likes or take away, maybe they say nobody can give nutrition information unless you upload a certification that you're a registered dietitian or whatever we have no idea, and they don't owe us anything because we don't pay for it.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So,
sorry.
No, you're fine.
Oh man, excuse me. I thought I was gonna hold it in there for a second, and then I was like, nope.
I think there's a trick, right? They say like, look up at the light. I don't know.
I know. I feel like I've tried them all, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But no, man, you made a great point. I mean, they absolutely could do something like that with social media platforms, where you have to put it in. But you just never know. I mean, I think again, it's like from the first time that you work with your very first client ever, right, to as that process evolves on and on. I mean, you just got to make sure that you remember that every single client you work with is essentially, turning into your business card, right? It's the way people judge you. It's if you're a results driven coach, and obviously doing it in a healthy, sustainable way, right? Not just worried about a before and after picture, but then people will trust that, right? And it takes time to build trust. I would say, I mean, I cannot tell you how many people have come to me and they're like, I've been following you on social media for the last 3 to 6 months, just marinating on your content, I guess you'd say. And that's when I finally decided to reach out, right? So that's how I look at social media. I expect to get any money out of it? No, I just try to put as much free stuff as I can without taking away from the things that actually do generate money, right? And then with that, it's like my business. Social media I look at it as like, that's the modern day business card, right? So
totally true.
Anyways.
Well, Justin, thank you so much for your time and joining the Trulyfit Podcast. I hope to have you on another episode down the road.
Absolutely. Thank you. This was a pleasure. And I appreciate it, Steve. And anytime, man.